Greetings, my brothers and
Hello.
sisters. Welcome to episode 125 as we continue in our fourth
Yes.
season, giving God all the praise, the
Yes,
honor, and the glory for
definitely.
this opportunity to come before you. And we're going to switch our focus this week to life. We've been focusing on the family for the last couple episodes, and we were also with family, literally with family, these last couple
Yes,
of weeks.
couple of weeks.
We missed you. Hopefully, you missed us too. We had to
Yes.
take care of some business with Mama Hall and visit Aunt Adrena as well as minister. Had an opportunity. God bless us with an opportunity to minister at our home church, Hearts of Memorial
Yes,
United
that's
Methodist
right.
Church. We was doing that on last week, and week before that at our current church, the House of Hope Atlanta. We were celebrating the August birthdays, which is my wife's birthday.
That's right.
And
Yes.
her day is
Forgot
coming
about
up
that.
on Wednesday. We're excited about
Happy
that
birthday
day.
to me.
Excited about this. Excited about this coming weekend. We're really going to celebrate. So we'll tell you about it when we get back. We're going to hold it too close to our sleeve and to our chest.
Right.
But actually, so the only episode we've done since July 29th was our Focus on the Family, where we had the Durham Child's golden 50th anniversary family reunion.
Monumental.
Oh, yes,
Wow.
yes. We had a glorious time. And that was our last episode on July the 29th. And we talked about the overwhelming joy of reuniting with family and meeting other family members that for the first time that we never met before. And we were blessed to learn about our family origin and lineage and heritage and legacy.
Oh, yeah.
And also, we were unaware of how close, far as residence locations were, how family members actually close to other family members. So that was a blessing to be able to connect and reconnect and also get some of the young folks together while viewing pictures and videos. And so we just enjoy celebrating, fellowshipping, and worshiping God, our Creator, who brought us all together one more time. So today we're going to focus on life. A lot going on in our life today. So we had to touch on it. I tell you, the griefs in the world, that's going to be our topic. Griefs in the world today. So we'll be discussing sorrows of this world with the question, is what we're being bombarded with, is it man-made issues, climate or environmental change issues, or is it just God's prophecy being fulfilled?
Yes. I mean, if you're like me, you probably just often feel like you're just watching all these things that's going on in the world day in and day out with without a break.
Right.
And so that's the grief that we're talking about, how it can be so overwhelming. But before we get started, I just want to share with you our appreciation so much for the fellow podcasters here on BS3 Network.
Yes.
We're coming up on our fourth annual awards for BS3.
Right.
If you weren't aware, that will take place on tomorrow.
Right.
No, that's the 20th. Yeah, that is tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow evening. So if you are connected with us or BS3, you will see it live. But we are a part of a wonderful network of podcasters, and our son in the leadership role, Mr. Visionary, Mr. Podcaster, Mr. Podfather, that just has us in line with the spirit of excellence and producing good content for every member of your family. So if you have not checked us out, we ask that you please do that. But before we do, because we did promise we were going to let our inquirer, somebody that wanted to know how to get started in podcasting.
Right.
Well, here it is. Our son offers coaching. That is right. He can get you up and started in this podcasting arena.
Right.
His information is on your screen. Take it from us. He got us up and running.
Yes, he did.
And it's been very effective in our opinion.
Right.
And so connect with him. If you're not interested in being a part of BS3, which we hope you are, nevertheless, he will be able to help you. And if you have not downloaded us on your Roku device, that information is on your screen. that is where you will see all of the podcasters and all of the content that is available for you and your entire family. And then last but not least, we'd like for you to reach out to us at Sudds-R-Us Podcast, and that information is also on your screen. We definitely thank you for viewing. And without further ado, we want to just share with you a little bit more about BS3 and what we have to offer to you as our viewers. Stay tuned.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
All right. Thank you once again for tuning in. Have a couple comments we would like to look at before we get started with our content. Oh, definitely. Our son. You can support BS3 Network by sending stars. Stars help us to earn money to continue building the network. Thank you. And one of our faithful viewers, Brian D. Williams. Good afternoon, my brother. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to get started. The griefs in this world today. There are so many of them. So the question is, are they man-made issues? Issues like political griefs. And the political griefs is that in the United States, what happened? They didn't like when President Obama became president. I'm talking about current griefs now. They didn't like when President Biden became President Obama's vice president, and then he became president. They didn't like when Kamala Harris became President Biden's vice president. Now governors and House Republican leaders are passing bills to try to remove state district attorneys and prosecutors. They're trying to suspend senators that were voted in office by their constituents, by their own peers, by their people, because of their party affiliation, their race, or even the political stance on gun control and affirmative action. They're also withdrawing districts, maps to eliminate or diminish the effect that predominantly black districts have on elections while restricting voting rights. So what we're doing, we're dealing with the backlash of having the first black president in the history of the United States of America. White people have just lost their minds. This country's white racism has reared its ugly head once again in the form of supporting a 2-time impeached, 4-time indicted, 91-time charged criminal, and so far 2 times convicted criminal who was the former president that's now running for president again. Because his followers hate people of color and despise them for having influence on the direction this country is going in. The griefs of this world. Leading with our first scripture, which is Proverbs 26, 24 through 26. It says that he hated the symbolist with his lips and layeth up deceit within him. When he speaketh fair, believe him not. For there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. So we recognize this pattern because there's nothing new under the sun, my brothers and sisters.
Right.
Because after the Reconstruction era, white supremacists destroyed homes and businesses and communities because of their hatred of African Americans and the significant progress we were making in this country. So it goes all the way back. We're talking about current Greece, but let me give you some history where the Greece actually started. It goes all the way back to the Ku Klux Klan, commonly shortened as the KKK or the Klan, in the name of several historical and current American white supremacists, which is the far right wing terrorists and hate groups. The primary target was African Americans, Hispanic, Jews, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, Catholics, as well as immigrants, leftists, homosexuals, Muslim, atheists, and abortion providers. So the first Klan was founded by Confederate soldiers, veterans, using terrorism, both physical assault and murder against politically active Black people and their allies in the southern states in the late 1960s. The second iteration of the Klan originated in the late 1910s and was the first to use cross burning and hooded robes. So the KKK of the 1920s had a nationwide membership in the millions and reflected a cross-section of native-born white population. But the third Klan formed in the mid-20th century, largely as a reaction to the growing civil rights movement, wherein we made significant progress. So racism always rears its ugly head when the Blacks or the people of color, African Americans, are moving forward in society's equal opportunity advancement.
Right.
This is man-made grief in the world. They committed murders and bombings to achieve their aims. All 3 movements have caused for the purification of American society and are all considered far-right extremist organizations. In each era, membership was secret, with estimates of the total were highly exaggerated, both by friends and enemies. But the difference today, my brothers and sisters, is that these racist groups have been emboldened by 45 to come out from under their hoods and put on their red MAGA hats, which is Make America Great Again hats. So after the Civil Rights Movement, Jim Crow laws were established to discriminate against African Americans, given opportunities to participate in Americans' culture, society, and political, the same freedoms that the white people were given. Now, the Jim Crow laws were stated and local laws introduced in the southern states in the late 19th and early 20th centuries that enforced racial segregation. Now, Jim Crow, being a pejorative term of African Americans, which I didn't know until I researched this, is a derogative term or pejorative or pejorative term of African Americans. Now, such laws remain in force till 1965. Now, similar laws are being introduced 60 years later in 2023. So formal and informal segregation policies were present in other areas of the United States as well, even in several states outside of the South have banned discrimination in public accommodations and voting. So Southern laws were enacted by white Southern Democrat-dominated state legislators to disenfranchise and remove political and environmental gains made by African Americans during the Reconstruction era. So such continuing racial segregation was also supported by the successful Lily White movement of the South, which are the Southern Republicans. So the same tactics from that era, Reconstruction era, by the Jim Crow individuals, are the same tactics they're incorporating to provide grief in this world of people of color today in 2023. Sad. Now they're going through these groups now, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the white nationalists and QAnon, etc. But in practice, Jim Crow laws, they mandated racial segregation in all public facilities in the states of former Confederate States of America. And the same others beginning in 1870. Now, Jim Crow laws were upheld in 1896 in the case of Plessy versus Ferguson, in which the Supreme Court laid out its separate but equal legal doctrine concerning facilities for African Americans. Moreover, public education has essentially been segregated since its establishment in the most of the South after the Civil War in 1861, 1865. So although the theory of the equal segregation doctrine was extended to public facilities and transportation too, facilities for African Americans were considerably inferior and underfunded compared to the facilities for the white Americans. So sometimes there was no facilities for Black communities at all. Far from equality as a body of law, Jim Crow institutionalized economics, education, political, and social disadvantages and second-class citizens for most African Americans living in the United States. But after the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, was founded in 1909, it became involved in a sustained public protest against Jim Crow laws and so-called separate but equal doctrine, because it was separate, but it wasn't equal, even though that's what the doctrine stated. But now we have a new opportunities through the Reverend Jesse Jackson Rainbow Push Coalition, Reverend Al Sharpton, National Action Network, and Joe Madison's, the National Urban League, to move, to just to name a few, to help us fight the good fight against these continuing tactics. But the most important development after the Civil Rights Movement and integration in the 60s is that we have millions of African Americans who have been educated in Ivy League schools, well as predominantly historical Black colleges and universities, who are now professors, attorneys, doctors, engineers, politicians, police chiefs, and judges, and actually are living in predominantly white communities or neighborhoods. So 60 years later, which means we have power if we use it to protect and promote our democracy, equality, equal justice for all people of color. Let me give you this: infamy, which is a state of being well known for some bad quality, deeds, evil, wicked acts, or cult. Well, they have the same mindset that are following 45.
That's it. I mean, you referenced President Obama and all that hatred that has just come, to the top of the pile, if you will. It's getting intense.
It is
extreme, and violently destructive, as we saw on January 6th, and dangerous with what's going on now with, the threats of, and I should say death threats of the prosecutors and the judge that's trying these cases. So as you mentioned before, we've got the power now. God has empowered us. So, for the politicians that are empowered and really want to do the right thing, don't worry about being politically correct. We, to be honest, we don't have time for that. We're not trying to worry about who's going to be offended and who's going to be upset because I said what's right, or I did what's right, or I put policies in place and measures in place that will, get us away from some of this craziness that's going on. So, we can't worry about the offense or the disadvantage of the members of particular groups or society. Just do the right thing. And, to further that is, in my opinion, I'm not a politician, but there should be ways that we can see, first of all, the craziness that's going on. We have never experienced this before. And so we're trying to put these ancient laws up against these new situations and policies that don't really apply. So in my opinion, wipe the slate clean and let's come up with some different laws and policies that coincide with what's going on now. There are these 3 African-American prosecutors and this one judge that's seeking to hold 45 accountable. We haven't seen this type of thing before through this legal system, and they're moving and shaking. There's Miss Letitia James, currently the Attorney General of New York. Miss Fannie Willis, right here in the great state of Georgia. That's just this week that brought the hammer down. She is the Fulton County District Attorney. Mr. Alvin Bragg, Manhattan DA. And then Judge Tanya Chutkin, U.S. District Court of District of Columbia. She is the judge. In spite of all their death threats, they are not scared. Okay. They knew what they signed up for. They didn't think it was going to get this crazy. But they really need our prayers. Prayers of protection, prayers of discernment, prayers of wisdom. But in spite of all that, 45 just despises the fact that these strong Black women and Black men are in charge and they're in high positions. And whereas the other hand, he's so used to being, the Lord over these weak-minded people that follow him, that he's wooing and wowing with this so-called financial power that he does not have. And they're just that stupid. I'm sorry. They are that stupid to follow behind this craziness. So, we're going to go into some of these political tactics while we're still on this political topic here. But Brian D. Williams says, to agree with what you said after writing the U.S. Constitution, Thomas Jefferson said it should be written every 20 years. See, I didn't know that. We way behind. But what I'm trying to figure out is nobody can really think. Everybody's thinking alike. Nobody's outside of that box. Everybody's like, this is the way we've done it all these many years. Time out for all of that. So these political tactics, listen to some of these political tactics. They're one after another. And I'm just referring to the ones right here in the state of Georgia. Since 1870, the Augusta Judicial Circuit has been the home of this criminal justice system of 3 county areas on the Georgia border with South Carolina. Now, in that time, no African American had been elected district attorney of the circuit until 2020, where a Black lawyer named Jared Williams, that might be your cousin, Brian, Jared Williams, upset a conservative pro-police candidate with just more than 50% of the vote. But that historical win was short-lived. The day after his election, look, one day later, a lawyer and state lawmakers in the area proposed something unusual, that the circuit's whitest county separate itself from the Augusta circuit, creating a new judicial circuit in Georgia for first time in nearly 40 years. See there? You see, when they know they're losing, what do? So the split caused a disenfranchisement of the old circuit's Black voters. Voting advocacy organization Black Voters Matter Fund contended in a lawsuit that was eventually dismissed. See, another tactic by the state Supreme Court. Those voters has chosen Williams, who ran on a pledge to uphold criminal justice reforms, such as not prosecuting low-level marijuana possession, a crime which disappropriately affects Black and minority communities. So instead of Williams, black voters in Columbia County got as their prosecutor a Trump-supported U.S. attorney who was appointed by Republican Governor Brian Kemp. His name is Bobby Kristen, and they chose him over Williams. Now, we're not surprised, right? This stuff happens every day. I know, Brian, and maybe you might want to look him up, LOL. But all we have to do is come together like they did in Ohio this week.
That's right.
See, it's really simple. And now for even more insecurity, that they display, this racism that they display, these shenanigans, Governor Brian Kemp signed a bill into law April 2023, creating a new commission that's empowered to discipline and remove, listen to this, wayward prosecutors. People that aren't doing what they expect or want them to do. The far left prosecutors or who's making our communities less safe. That's their terminology. And so what happened? They have filed a lawsuit. How do you think you can remove somebody just because you dislike them for the decisions that they've been empowered to make? And then this same law is now being paralleled in the states of Florida, Indiana, Missouri, Pennsylvania. See, they began to just spread this crazy blanket of racism and trying to disembar us and get us off of our success wagon, if you will.
Disenfranchise us.
That's it. And so they, again, they need to pass some of these laws that limit the terms of some of these U.S. senators. Look, I'm not the brightest bulb in the box, but come on now. These U.S. representatives, these Supreme Court judges that you realize it's been, 2 or 3 of them that had some issues come up, and they still get to sit on the bench. I don't get it. If you have all of this going on and you're obtaining or still in office, that's an issue, especially if you've got been indicted and you've been convicted of a crime. But there's been past laws that just needs to be reviewed. They need to be modified. They need to be rejected, replaced, deleted. They're too antiquated. And some of these, representatives, they're old. They can't think beyond what they already know. It's sad. And I know I'm going to get old and I'm probably going to be set in my ways too. But this country was not founded, as we know, on good principles. They say it was. That's why they're trying to block the history, because it's going to come out. It's going to come out. But rather it's based on lies, on crookedness, on anything goes. That's what it's been based on. And that's what we're still dealing with all these years later. But this stuff you've never heard of, not to mention the audacity and the arrogance and the ignorance of some of this stuff that's going on. And the mentality. We're better than this.
That's right.
And I commend the people that took a stand in what city, Alabama, Birmingham. There's so much joking around about it, but we're tired of it. We're tired of it. Here's a common phrase that I heard someone say, we say it all the time. That's the way we've always done it. And it just doesn't work anymore. Can somebody, as I said earlier, can somebody see the bigger picture? Somebody stand up against some of this craziness and propose some new laws and change this world. Now, a female representative from Cleveland, Ohio, we were watching MSNBC. She said it best. And I love it. If you can't beat them, cheat them. That's their mindset. If you can't beat them, cheat them.
That's it.
That's all they are. Cutthroat, cheats, scum, scoundrels.
That's it.
She said a true statement. And she also said they try to take away from us what's valuable. But it's not happening. It's not happening. With all that's going on, they're clearly feeling the threat. All they're feeling is that they are now becoming the minority. And they believe the lie. They believe it so long that they make it the truth. And Omar Epps, he made a very good quote, and I noticed it on Instagram. He said, "The truth only hurts those who live in lies." So their whole mind manipulating, and their goal is to distract us, stay focused, to derail us, stay upright and keep walking. That division, we got to remind ourselves as a people, we cannot be divided by their craziness. To divert us, you notice on the news, they always trying to divert us away from the craziness and deflect us, create fear and anxiety to frustrate the heck out of us. We're frustrated. That's what you hear in our voices. We're beyond frustrated, twisting information, turning it on. Biden ain't doing this and he ain't doing that. Well, let's focus on what he is doing. And then believing that wrong is right and right is wrong. That is their mission. That is their mission. But we, as a people, we got to wake up and stay alert and realize what they started when they brought us over here on the slave ship, that, we're not going back. We're not going back. We are moving forward. That's the type of people we are. So I want them to just stop. Leave us alone. We are alert. We are aware. We are paying attention. And so voter suppression, has been around for decades. And the craziness that they try to do, that we're going to stand in Georgia in this line in the heat and nobody can bring us any water or food. Well, the judge shot that down. And what was the other one that they talked about? Oh, putting your date of birth on the outside of your ballot. What difference does that make when you've checked my ID and everything else? We have another comment. Exactly. We must focus on solutions instead of focusing on the problem.
Right.
And then one before that, sorry, Brian, he says that's how they continue to be in control. They live on the ignorance of their constituents. And it's the constituents live on the ignorance of the leaders. And so right here in Fulton County, I'm telling you, the scoundrel has been indicted. We all saw it. And so it's just amazing. And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to be done. It's amazing how we as Black people choose to align ourselves with stupidity and craziness when we know we're brighter than that. That's what our t-shirt says. Black is genius. That's it. Tap in. And so there's two of them that got caught up in this foolishness with 3 counts on this indictment. Treveson Cootie, she was a Chicago-based former publicist of the musician R. Kelly, where is he? And Kanye West. She's the one that pressured the Ruby Freeman and her daughter. And then the police were videotaping. That's crazy in itself. You know good and well you should not have been a part of that. You should have shut that down, police officer. So she tried to influence Freeman to say that she, committed fraud. And then there's Harrison Floyd, another Black man, a Maryland resident, is a leader of this organization of stupidity, Black Voters for Trump. See? And so he also was involved in the Ruby Freeman shenanigan and the meeting. He arranged for that meeting to take place and pressuring Freeman. So we've got to be careful about aligning with this stupidity, with this we're smarter than that. And so, they're using us as pawns, as flunkies. And then so they brought this man and this woman into this crap, and now they done got caught up. So why do we get caught up? I'll never know. I'll never know. All I know is the Republicans are still trying to twist and bend the facts to conform to the craziness that they believe in. And that, even us as Black people, we see them at the rallies and they choose to believe. I can't figure it out. I can't. I never will.
A lot of them choose to believe because of the financial benefits. Yeah, a lot of them.
Don't be bought.
Yeah, they want to
do it.
They want to receive, the financial benefits. So just like when I was talking about in the early 1800s and 1700s, There's always an Uncle Tom in the big house. So that's nothing new under the sun as well, because he wanted to, he didn't benefit financially, but he got certain favors and he was able to, he's got certain privileges, and he was able to eat, you know, all of the good food. So you still got some individuals that are still being taken advantage of and doing things that's not beneficial to their people, because they're thinking about themselves and what can they gain.
That's right.
What can they gain from it?
That's right. That's right.
See, yes, indeed, right?
They have been purchased. That's it. And we're we're way better than that.
Yeah, we hope we are. Some of us aren't.
Oh,
we should be. We should be. So the second, that's the first man-made issue, which is political, which causes grief in this world. Now, the second man-made issue that causes grief in this world is climate and environmental changes.
That's right. That's it.
For an example, I know you've heard of it, but what's been going on in Maui, Hawaii. The Maui disaster was caused by a hurricane.
Right.
Now, we know that God created the hurricane. That was created by God. But its power and force that caused the destruction of electrical poles, which ignited the fire to burn out of control, was caused by man. That destroyed thousands of homes and businesses, killed hundreds of people because of a global warming from the ozone layer being burned off, which caused the oceans to warm up and give the hurricanes more power. It also causes droughts, which is affecting the river levels in the world, but especially in the Midwest and the West of the United States. So the ozone layer, what is the ozone layer? The ozone layer is one layer of the stratosphere, the second layer of the Earth's atmosphere. So the stratosphere is the mass of protective gases clinging to our planet. The stratosphere gets its name because of the stratified or layered as elevation increases. The stratosphere gets warmer. The stratosphere increases its warmth with elevation because the ozone gases in the upper layers absorb intense ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So the ozone is only a trace of gas in the atmosphere, only about 3 molecules for every 10 million molecules of air. But it does a very important job. Like a sponge, the ozone layer absorbs bits of radiation hitting the earth from the sun. Even though we need some of the sun's radiation to live, to keep us warm, also to give us light, but too much of it can damage living things. So the ozone layer acts as a shield for life on Earth. So ozone is good at trapping a type of radiation called ultraviolet radiation or UV light, which can penetrate organisms' protective layers like skin. This means it may damage DNA molecules in plants and animals. There are 2 major types of UV lights, the UVB and UVA. Now, UVB is the cause of skin conditions like sunburns and cancers like basal cell carcinoma or squamous cell carcinoma. People used to think that UVA lights, the radiation used in tanning beds, is harmless because it doesn't cause burns. However, scientists now know that UVA lights is even more harmful than UVB. Penetrating more deeply and causing a deeply skin cancer, melanoma, and premature aging. So the ozone layer, Earth's sunscreen, absorbs about 98% of this devastating UV light. So the ozone layer is getting thinner. So chemicals cause chlorofluoride carbon, which is CFCs, are reason we have a thinner ozone layer. So the CFC is a molecule that contains element carbon, chlorine, and fluorine. So CFCs are everywhere, mostly in refrigerants and plastic products. So businesses and consumers, we're just as guilty, use these products because they're inexpensive, They don't catch on fire easily, and they don't usually poison living things. But the CVCs start eating away at the ozone layer once they get blown into the stratosphere. So my scripture regarding all of this is Revelation 14:7. He said with a loud voice, "Fear the Lord and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heaven, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water." So we have to value this earth that God has entrusted us with. He entrusted Adam with it. Now we're Adam heirs, so we have to take care of this atmosphere. We have to take care of this earth. If not, God's judgment will rain down upon us. And now we're seeing the effects of us not putting the care of this earth as our first priority.
Wow. This Maui situation is just devastating. And I don't believe they have the final count, death count.
Right.
But what really was surprising is Maui is an island, Hawaii itself. All that water,
right,
and the devastation that this fire caused. And the whole focus, I believe now, is trying to figure out how in the world did this happen.
Right.
Nobody saw this coming. The emergency alert system was apparently strong and robust, but on that day, it was silent. They can't figure out why it was not activated. Nobody at the state and nobody at the county level attempted to activate these sirens based on the records that's been developed. So the fires and the flames were moving so fast that the emergency management officials, they were focused on trying to save people versus trying to, get and coordinate on the ground, versus trying to get this system or the siren going. So it was just a big mishap. And I know that they're grieved by it. They're still trying to figure out why it should be an automatic, I would assume, if it's that robust. But it's the second, Maui is the second largest in Hawaii. There are 80 outdoor sirens to alert residents to tsunamis and other natural disasters. And they, as I said before, they sat silent as people fled for their lives. The only warning they said that they received in Lahaina was that huge plume of black smoke. And by that time, I'm sure it was just too late. So clearly, and they're figuring this out. I'm sure more work needs to be done to understand this type of a wildfire and how it spread so fast and what they can do to improve, hopefully, and detect and then alert, and be, have that warning system in place. I'm sure that they've got to come up with the answer for that. But as I said earlier, every month, maybe even a couple of times a month, or else all month long, we've been dealing with this 45 thing, and then there's something else that comes along. And if we're not careful, we can easily become overwhelmed by the news. So we've got to learn how to pull away, to press the reset button, to shift gears, and then to just dive into something else. I choose to just get into my word. I love to sing. I'm listening to music. I even listen to the word. Sometimes your eyes tired. I journal. We've got to balance. We've got to find something else that does not just bombard our minds with this craziness. So there's a scripture that I want to bring up, and it is Matthew chapter 24, beginning with the 4th verse. And it really speaks so loudly and profoundly about what's going on. And Jesus answered and said unto them, "Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled." Key word, be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Mm-hmm.
For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows.
Wow.
That's what we're talking about, grief.
Grief.
Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my sake.
There you go.
And then shall many be offended.
Right.
Look, and shall betray one another.
Right.
And shall hate one another.
Mm-hmm.
And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many.
Mm-hmm.
And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And he, this is key, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved.
Yes.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then, there we go, and then shall the end come.
Right.
That was verse 14. I know that was a lot. That was verse 14. But look, go back and read that again. That sums it up.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So we got another hurricane that's coming, Hillary.
Hillary, right?
It's on the West Coast.
Sister girl was on there talking.
Now you normally don't have hurricanes on that side of the country.
Oh, it's on the West Coast?
It's on the West Coast.
Where?
It's coming up through California.
Oh,
yeah, California. So now we have all of these environmental issues, forest fires, and hurricanes, and earthquakes, and just like the scripture said, in diverse places. So now you have hurricanes in diverse places. So all these environmental issues brings us to our third and final grief.
Right.
Grief calls in the world. Is it actually prophecy being fulfilled? Is it actually prophecy being fulfilled? We just heard Matthew 2:24, 4-14. And these things are actually being fulfilled. We are seeing these things in real time.
That's it.
What was prophesied. But now we have all these other environmental episodes occurring as well, which makes us feel like we're entering into the end times, my brothers and sisters. We got to be aware. And listen to what God said in Ezekiel 21:31. He said, and I will pour out my iniquity upon thee. I will blow against thee in the fire of my wrath and deliver thee into the hands of the brutish men and skillful to destroy. So we remember Jim Jones back in the day.
Wow.
We remember Beyonce. We know what she's doing. And now 45 are being followed and worshiped like cult leaders. These followers, these fans, or these freaks, whoever they say, regardless of what the law or common sense says, they're blinded by hatred, fame, money, religion. You know, we put up spiritual or spirit, but religion is whatever you worship, not necessarily Christianity. Religion or just ignorance. And brothers in our group, they said, well, because of Beyonce's music, said, well, we acted the same way. We followed James Brown and Earth, Wind, and Fire and Temptations, the Hall Players, Michael Jackson, Parliament Funkadelic. But we got to remember, those lyrics from those groups back then were mainly focused on love with spiritual connotations.
It made sense.
It made sense.
Right.
And it referenced something higher than us, which is God, or something spiritual, not religious things like paganistic, evil, degrading, and violent lyrics like we have today. So we got to be we have to be aware.
That's it.
Of these griefs that we're dealing with in this world. Are they prophecy being fulfilled?
I'm telling you, it's crazy. And, you know, I know in the word, it warns us that in the last days that we need to be careful not to be deceived. That's where we are, that we are not deceived.
Right.
There are false teachers, false prophets, false gospels that are out there. And so God is requiring us to be equipped with discernment to be able to spot these counterfeits. You know, we're looking for authenticity. We're not looking for fakeness and counterfeits and folk that are rising up, you know, wanting you to worship them and praise them based on who they are and what they're doing.
Right.
And that just undermines the beauty of the finished work of the cross.
Yes.
We're not gonna, you know, bow down to anybody else. The Lord says, you know, you cannot worship any other God but Him.
But me.
Those are those little G gods that are coming up. So we've got to use wisdom. Here's a scripture in Proverbs chapter 2, verses 12 through 15. Wisdom will save you from evil people.
That's it.
From those whose words are twisted. These men turn from the right way to walk down dark paths. They take pleasure in doing wrong, and they enjoy the twisted ways of evil. Their actions are crooked, and their ways are wrong.
Right.
So we got to pay attention. Prophecy is being fulfilled, as we just said, through the false prophets that are coming up. You know, the Antichrist. You mentioned infamy, and that's a state of being well known for some bad quality, some bad deed, something evil or a wicked act. And then, you know, these cults. And that's what I feel Beyonce is. Jim Jones as well, same situation. It has not left, and it's probably even more so now. The cult is a misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or a thing. Beyonce is not all that. And all of those that went to the concert, they're struggling.
Right.
Because that's financially robbery.
Right.
It's a small religious group, as you mentioned before, that is not part of a larger one. They just, you know, grab hold of this small little group, and then you follow them and accept that and their beliefs and all the craziness and the lyrics and, you know, this big to-do in San Francisco that she put forth, and all of these people are bowing. Really? You know, we have got to be careful. Supposedly she's ushering in this secret revolution and a new world order where you go usher right on and nobody else, if you're listening carefully and you're paying attention, should be following this foolishness with the lyrics. And then 45, no matter what he does in this cult, you know, his followers will still stand by him, will pay whatever it is. You know, some of them got it on an automatic draft to pay this man's legal fees. It's the blind leading the blind. My eyes are wide open. Open our eyes, Lord.
That's it.
So we got to watch out. We really have to watch out and stay alert. Be smart. Be unwavering. You know, ignore the ignorance and the stupidity. Stay aware. Listen. Pay attention. And excel in doing the right thing. You know, resist the devil and he will flee from you. You got to know the word. You got to walk in the word, live the word, and then trample on his head, and then see what God has in store for us in the end. All we got to do is stay focused. So I'm just a skeptical person overall. You know, I'm always concerned. I'm always discerning. I'm alert about everything and everybody. Yes, I got trust issues, but you know what? That's working in my favor. But I know one thing, time is not long. And we don't have time for foolishness. And we're moving forward in this life. You know, spiritually blind is not the answer. And not being able to see what's really going on, that's becoming a problem. So God is just raising us up, and we have got to really see that our people are becoming more and more elevated into areas of influence. I'm going to read you a statistic that really blew me away. As of February 20th, 2023, 15% of the 604 active district court judges are African Americans. Now, 48 are men and 40 are women. Some people say, oh, wow, that ain't nothing. That is progress. Let's look at it as progress. You know, and all I can say is keep watching us rise. All over the United States, there are people elevated in intricate, in influential places.
That's it.
That are going to make a difference. You see those justices, the two Justins that are in Tennessee. Look, that's not just by chance. We are rising up. So watch us rise. Those of you who are watching that are opposing us as Black people, as the geniuses that we are, watch us rise. It's happening. It's really happening. Did you have anything else you want to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, so we've come to the conclusion of this episode. We got that out of our system. Thank you for tuning in, but we always have our closing scripture, and that is going to be a lengthy one as well. 2 Timothy, beginning with chapter 3, beginning with verse number 1, and it reads, "But understand this, that in the last days, dangerous times of great stress and trouble will come. Difficult days that will be hard to bear. For people will be lovers of self, narcissistic, self-focused. They'll be lovers of money, impelled by greed. They'll be boastful, arrogant, revilers, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, and profane. And they will be unloving, devoid of natural human affection, colossal and just inhumane, irreconcilable, malicious gossips, devoid of self-control, intemperate, immoral, brutal, haters of good, traitors, reckless, conceited, lovers of sensual pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding to a form of outward godliness or religion, although they have denied its power, for their conduct nullifies their claim of faith. Avoid such people and keep far away from them." That concludes our scripture for today, y'all. That was a message in itself. So again, thank you for tuning in. Continue to enjoy your weekend. Be blessed.
Be blessed.
And until next time, just know that stay aware, stay alert, stay awake.
So the grease of this world, actually, they're all three. They're caused by man, political, caused by man, environmental and climate changes. And it's also prophecy being fulfilled. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
God bless
you. Be blessed.